Hello, welcome to Retro Gaming Swede and the first entry in a series of videos I'll call Retro Steam, where I'll show you some nice old school games available on Steam and other modern platforms. So today there'll be a whole lot of bats, Medusa heads and vampires. Here's Castlevania Anniversary Collection for PS4, Xbox One, Switch and Steam. On the main menu you get to see some background info on all the games, and it plays a nice rendition of the Castlevania theme. When you start the game you might notice that the controls are all messed up, so if you're playing with the controller you probably want to change the controls before you go on. This is a good practice to have all through these games. Don't start moving until you've changed the controls. The original setup is backwards as hell. So if you start off with the first game, you'll see it looks pretty great. There are some graphic filters you can use, but I mostly go for the pixel perfect mode. There's also scan lines and some horrendous 16:9 stretching. Generally, the games run great and is almost perfectly emulated. The difficulty is intact, nothing's changed about that, but with a bit of practice you'll be dodging Medusa heads and fall through stairs in no time. The first Castlevania game looks and feels pretty much exactly like you remember it from the NES days. The sound is great too, with the old music blasting through the barriers of time, making you feel as a kid again. The game is just as hard as it was back in the day too. Yeah, none of these games are easy. The first one might actually be the easiest one, and for the series debut it's quite capable. The second game is Simon's Quest. Something really special, but not in a good way. If you've never played this, you can try it for novel's sake, but if you know about this game, don't. They haven't done anything to the dialogue, so if you want to play through this, you have to use a guide. The game is just as grindy, and the day and night cycle is still there, meaning that every 3 minutes you get a slow ass dialogue box that tells you it's either night or day, making the enemies either stronger or weaker. You also can't enter the doors in town during the night, which is annoying as all hell. I've never liked Simon's Quest before, so this compilation does nothing to change my mind. Avoid this game like the plague. The third game, called Dracula's Curse, is the last and best NES Castlevania. With its branching paths, stellar NES graphics and awesome music, this is the one to play if you just want to play one of them. On some stages you can find spirits that follow you and shares your life pool. They can get different abilities and spells that Belmont can't. These can be of great help. In all of these games, the most feared enemy is the stairs. If you're standing close to one, don't try to crouch or use your special weapon. You'll just walk up or down, and when you're on the stairs you can't jump and only sometimes use your special attacks. So if you're in a room with a lot of stairs, make sure to have enough health to take at least a couple of hits. Then we move on to Super Castlevania 4. This is the only game I've had any big issues with. When I booted it up for the first time, my controller stopped working, and the second time the sound got all messed up. Otherwise, all the games have worked flawlessly. I never had a Super Nintendo back in the day and haven't played the cartridge version, so I don't have anything to compare this one to. But it plays nice, and now you automatically walk down the stairs. That's the biggest revolution in Castlevania ever! You also have some new moves to play around with. You can attack up and diagonally, and for some reason hold the whip out in a weird limp fish fashion. You can also use the whip to swing on some places, and you can move while crouching, which really comes in handy at some spots. Generally, this is a really solid game if you've never played it. Next up we have the Castlevania Adventure, one of the Game Boy games, and it plays just like a downsized version of the first NES game. It looks awful on a modern computer screen, but might be fun to check out. Just change the filter to one of the colored ones, because all of the white will probably destroy your eyes. Otherwise, it's basically a less fun, slower, shorter and uglier version of the NES games. The second Game Boy game, Belmont's Revenge, is basically the same thing, but now you can select the levels and which order you do them. The last real Castlevania game is also the best one. Castlevania Bloodlines, or the new generation based on the region you live in. This is basically the more handsome, faster, better and more good looking cousin of the Super Nintendo version. Everything moves quicker, and even though you've lost the ability to attack up, you can attack diagonally and down if you jump. This is the best 16-bit Castlevania by far. At the start of the game you can select from two different characters, and they are really different to play. One is called John Morris and has the vampire killer whip from the other games, and the other is called Eric Lecard and has a spear of some sort. I do prefer Morris just because of the whip, even though the other guy has some fancy jump move and can attack upwards. The only bad thing with this game is that you have a limited supply of continues, making the game super hard to get through. The last game of the compilation is Kid Dracula. This is basically a parody on the Castlevania series. It plays like an action platformer of the day, and you can jump and shoot. There's nothing new to see here, but it's a fun little game nonetheless. This is the first time it's released outside of Japan. It can be seriously hard at times too though, so try it out if you want to. For extras, this compilation is pretty bare bones. It has the manuals for the different games, and it has the Japanese versions on most of the games. The real meat of the extras are the bonus book. Here you can find art, interviews and other tidbits of information on the different games, as well as the history of the Castlevania universe. So what I think about this nostalgia-filled pack of games? It's good. The versions of the different games run really great, and except for a couple of weird bugs, there's nothing to argue about. The real winner for me are the 16-bit versions that can get quite pricey if you want to get them for their original formats. But I enjoyed all games except for the Game Boy games and the awful Simon's Quest. So if you're interested in trying these old Castlevania games, you should absolutely get this compilation. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please leave a like and subscribe. If there's something you don't agree with, leave a comment and tell me what you think.